Welcome to the Tax Talk, a show that concentrates on informing and educating you on tax administration. My name is Oyinlola Sale, and here's what to expect on the rest of the show.
This is business news. Business experts and economists have called for improved revenue collection to drive effective implementation of the Lagos 2.2 trillion 2024 budget recently presented by Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. They spoke at a roundtable to review Lagos economy in 2023 and the outlook for 2024, organized by the Economic Intelligence Department of the State Ministry of Economic Planning and Budget, where they noted that the 2024 appropriation bill, when passed, will meet expectations of the people. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu recently presented an estimate of 2.2 trillion naira to the State House of Assembly for 2024 and christened the budget of renewal. The budget proposed increased capital spending in key sectors of the economy. Mr. Ayoteriba, Chief Executive at Economic Associates, reviewing the 2023 budget, said it was expected that by the end of the third quarter, the budget performance will have attained 75%, but surpassed that and achieved 78%. Adeola Adenikeju, president of the Nigerian Economic Society, commended the state government for the indicator in the proposed bill that almost half of the spending will be coming from internally generated revenue. The chairman of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, has said Nigeria can easily earn 10 trillion naira annually through efficient management of its non-oil assets. Oyedele made this known at a stakeholders forum organized by the Harvard Business School Association of Nigeria in Lagos. He also highlighted the need for improved asset management and the potential benefit of selling underperforming assets to generate liquidity and stimulate economic growth. He said the country's non-oil assets, estimated to be between 80 to 100 trillion naira, had not received adequate attention and were being mismanaged. The chairman disclosed that the committee will unveil comprehensive tax reforms aimed at bolstering economic growth and ease the burden on businesses. The Abuja Chamber of Commerce and Industry has called on the federal and state government to streamline the various tax policies being implemented in their respective domains. ACCI's newly elected president, Chief Emeka Obigolu, made the call in Abuja while extending the chamber's greetings to Christians in Nigeria on the occasion of the 2023 Christmas celebration. According to him, although the payment of tax is considered a civic duty, its remittance is a significant source of revenue generation that helps the government to meet its statutory obligations. In a statement personally signed by the ACCI president, he appealed to the government at all levels to prioritize the provision of essential infrastructure, streamline tax policies, and enhance the ease of conducting businesses. That's it on Business News.
Hello, sir. Good evening. How may I assist you?
I made a reservation for a room. My name is Amodu.
Excellent, Mr. Amodu. A moment, please. You made a reservation for our deluxe suite for 2 nights. That will be 150,000 naira, sir. How would you like to make payment? Cash or card?
Card.
Okay. Thank you. Savings or current, sir?
Current.
Your PIN, please.
Thank you. You don't charge 5% consumption tax here.
No, sir. We don't do that.
Really? You're running a hospitality business and you're not charging 5% consumption tax?
No.
Hold on a minute. Hey, bro.
Alpha.
Yeah, I am at an apartment in Ogba, and the receipt issued to me did not reflect the payment or deduction of consumption tax.
Oh, really? Thanks for the heads up. I will send a team to investigate.
I mean, they should be penalized.
Attention, all service apartment owners and operators in the hospitality business in Lagos State must charge and remit consumption tax to LIRS. Failure to comply is a contravention of the extant provisions in Section 9 of the HORC Law 2009, which attracts penalties as stipulated in Section 10 and 11 of the same law. Stay on the right side of the law.
Welcome back. It's still the Tax Talk. And on Corporate Talk today, we will be talking strategy for improving tax compliance. Today's guest is Mr. Segun Oluata, Head Strategic Audit Unit at the Lagos State Internal Revenue Service. You're welcome, sir.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's certainly our pleasure. Now, from your experience, what are some of the common factors that would warrant investigating a taxpayer's affairs?
Primarily is suspicion, as enshrined in the relevant tax law, which is the Personal Income Tax Act, Section 55. It actually gives the tax authority the power, suspecting any form of under-disclosure, which within that law it states fraud, willful default, and neglect. Because ordinarily a taxpayer who is resident in Lagos State is expected to, do full disclosure to the tax authority. This is also supported in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Section 24F, under the duties of a citizen, where citizens are expected to, honestly disclose their income and pay tax thereof, to the relevant tax authority. The tax audit exercise actually is an opportunity for the tax authority to guide, the taxpayer to see the level of compliance and to see if the taxpayer has fully adhered to, what the tax law actually expects. So if the taxpayer still fails to, do what is expected, maybe by way of income of the taxpayer, and also understatement of the number of employees, for instance, that usually, triggers a tax investigation for us to properly now assess the taxpayer to the right amount of tax by way of additional assessment, and expect that, and notify the taxpayer of this new development. And at the end of the day, the taxpayer is expected to pay, this additional tax amount.
Right. Now, can you provide an overview of the objectives of the Strategic Audit Unit?
Primarily, the Strategic Audit Unit is the revenue generating unit of the agency. And just like I did mention, it's saddled with the responsibility of conducting tax investigation assignments. And also, we are also saddled with the responsibility of carrying out the normal audit, depending on what triggers that. Also special assignments in relation to or some segments of tax audit, which is not an investigation per se. And also the unit is given the responsibility of having an independent review of post-distrain exercise. Post-distrain within the agency, or distrain, let me put it that way, is a situation where as a result of the failure of taxpayers to comply with or adhere to the requirements of, or the requirements of some of these requests made by, the tax authority. It gets to a point that the law actually permits us to, lock up, the premises of these taxpayers. So, because within the agency we have officers that, they are responsible, they call them relationship managers. Their responsibilities is actually to interface with the taxpayer and also work on disputes, which we call reconciliation, which emanates from tax audit issues. So in a situation where it gets to the point that these taxpayers are being locked up or their business premises being locked up, the Strategic Audit Unit is given or is required, to have an independent review of such cases so that we can achieve amicable resolution of most of these tax related issues.
what are the documents that you need to assess when it comes to looking at the compliance of your taxpayers? And also, how do you ensure that these taxpayers know the documents that they need to bring forward for this investigation?
Okay. For the investigation, as soon as we send a notification letter, to notify the taxpayer of our intention, to conduct an investigation. Such a letter would have attached to it a list of required documents. We have the audited financial statements, we have the bank statements, we have the payroll, and for the expatriate employees, we have documents that would help the tax authority to confirm the genuineness of or the authenticity of the employment of the expatriates of the taxpayer. So we have immigration documents, we have the expatriate monthly returns. So these are the documents that the tax authority requests for from the taxpayer in order to help. One other thing is that that is at the initial stage, but as time goes on, maybe for instance, when the taxpayer would object to the assessment, we also have, depending on the claims made by the taxpayer, we also would require additional documents, which might not necessarily be in the initial list sent. And also, when we get to the field as well, in the course of our opening meetings and having a conversation with the taxpayer as to the basis of a tax investigation, and from the responses we get, we might also tell the taxpayer some other documents that might be useful for the exercise.
Now, you just mentioned something earlier on that when a taxpayer lodges an objection. Now, what is the review process like?
When we receive such an objection letter within time, because you're expected to do that within the stipulated time as allowed by the law, we're meant to, depending on the case, we'll call the taxpayer for a reconciliation meeting, just so that will give them the opportunity to come and explain properly to the tax authority the basis of their claims. And in sending such a letter, it will go, apart from the fact that, the initial notification letter had carried a list of documents requested, but now, because the objection letter will now be specific, we'll end up now, based on that specific item or issues, we can now indicate in the letter of invite to the taxpayer, for the reconciliation meeting, highlighting, documents that would expect to help to substantiate the claims that has been made or have been made in the objection letter.
Now, how does your unit handle situations when there is no response from the taxpayers?
If there's no response, just like I said earlier, the law expects that it should respond within a time frame. But in situations where the taxpayer doesn't respond, the tax authority would definitely write, requesting for payment of the liability. But really, in some cases, the taxpayer will end up responding as soon as they get a letter from us, giving reasons why maybe sometimes they claim not to have received, the demand notice. But we try as much as possible for fairness, to still, given those reasons, we still take the normal process of, calling them for a reconciliation meeting, just so that we can give them the opportunity to, express their position on the tax assessment.
Thanks for all you have said so far, Mr. Segun, but we need to go on a quick break right now. We're going on a short break now. The discussion continues when we get back.
Hello, sir. Good evening. How may I assist you?
I made a reservation for a room. My name is Ahmad.
Excellent, Mr. Audit. A moment, please. You made a reservation for our deluxe suite for 2 nights. That will be 150,000 naira, sir. How would you like to make payment? Cash or card?
Card.
Okay. Thank you. Savings or current, sir?
Current.
Your PIN, please.
Thank you. You don't charge 5% consumption tax here.
No, sir. We don't do that.
Really? You're running a hospitality business and you're not charging 5% consumption tax?
No.
Hold on a minute. Hey bro.
Alpha,
Yeah, I am at an apartment in Ogba and the receipt issued to me did not reflect the payment or deduction of consumption tax.
oh really? Thanks for the heads up. I will send a team to investigate.
I mean, they should be penalized.
Attention, all service apartment owners and operators in the hospitality business in Lagos State must charge and remit consumption tax to LIRS. Failure to comply is a contravention of the extant provisions in Section 9 of the HORC Law 2009, which attracts penalties as stipulated in Section 10 and 11 of the same law. Stay on the right side of the law.
Welcome back. We have been discussing on strategy for improving tax compliance, and I still have here with me Mr. Segun Oluata, Head Strategic Audit Unit at the Lagos State Internal Revenue Service. Now, let's take a look at something that has to do with investigations. The scenario whereby the tax agents are not able to carry out the investigations. What measures would your unit take?
As we all know, the tax investigation exercise actually, emanates from the fact that the tax authority actually do have access to new information, which the taxpayer ought to have ordinarily, made available in the course of statutory filing to the tax authority. In a situation like that, we try as much as possible to persuade them to see why the exercise is taking place. We stated clearly that it's actually because there's, access to new information. But a situation where the taxpayer still fails to, cooperate, we go ahead because we actually do have the information. So on the basis of this additional information, we can raise, this additional assessment. And it's now left for the taxpayer, to do the needful as soon as they receive a demand notice for the additional assessment. And you find out that the uncooperative attitude of the taxpayer will change as soon as they have a demand notice stating that the tax authority actually expects them to pay a certain amount of tax liability. Because if they now at that point fail to do what is expected, we get to a point that we can take action, by way of enforcement, which is also what, can lead us to locking up, the business premises of the taxpayer.
How do you derive reasonable information once the documents and evidence are available?
As soon as the taxpayer makes available the documents requested for the exercise, obviously we'll review these documents because the primary focus is actually the income of the taxpayer. So whatever documents will be made available is also to help the taxpayer to prove beyond reasonable doubt that the claims made is actually correct. So we review these documents. There's always a whole loads of documents to look at.
Together with the Lagos State government, the LRS launched a whistleblower policy whereby taxpayers can actually report any unethical behavior. Now, can you give a brief overview regarding this?
The whistleblower policy has actually been helpful because the most important part of our job is access to information. It's very important. If the taxpayer does not provide the right information, it limits, it limits the agency. And that's why, a whole lot depends on what the taxpayer provides. And that's why we also go further to have access to additional information as well. So for the whistleblower policy, it's been helpful, like I said. It's an opportunity, for the tax or residents in Lagos, to provide the tax authority with additional information regarding, some of their employers or companies that are meant to, provide information on their employees. Also, it's also an opportunity for residents to provide information on people that live around them, who they believe have not, been doing the right thing as regards their tax payment, to the tax authority.
Wow, that's good to know. Quite revealing indeed.
Yeah.
Now, can you explain the process of when you're trying to reopen a company that has been distrained?
Okay. When a company has been distrained, normally, after the action had been taken.
Yes.
When the action had been taken, the company is expected to reach out to the agency. They physically come, to come and see how the issue can be resolved. So basically, the file is being looked at, reviewed to see why we actually took the action. There are two requirements, basically. Number one is that there's a distrain fee, which the LIRS charges, for the distrain action. And also, there's a payment expected, from the liability. It's actually case-by-case basis and based on whatever excuses you give or reasons that you give, for failing to, to comply with the requirements. So you're expected to pay part of the liability and the cost of the distrain.
Thanks for coming on Corporate Talk today, Mr. Segun. It was quite revealing.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's certainly my pleasure.
Yeah.
Mr. Segun Oluata, Head Strategic Audit Unit at the Lagos State Internal Revenue Service, has been our guest on the Tax Talk today. Thank you for your time, sir. And that's how we close out the segment on this edition. Please keep the seat warm as there's more coming your way.
It is meant to reduce journey time. It is meant to cut journey time from the hours that you have on traffic into a solution that will cross you onto the Ikeja along onto the road that takes you to Mongoro in a seamless manner. I want to reiterate to all Lagosians that we remain committed to a transport system that is safe, that is secure, sustainable, that is integrated, that is seamless, and with the potential to drive socio-economic growth and development of our state and indeed Nigeria as a whole.
But particularly what you have noted is a huge advantage policy consistency makes. And that is what we're seeing in Lagos, consistency and progression in government. This is largely to the legacy of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR. In other words, Lagos has been a beneficiary of bold and progressive vision built around people's welfare. I believe this is what's emulating across the country for faster socio-economic growth.
The Ikeja Overpass Bridge, among the infrastructure projects apportioned to Lagos State by the Federal Ministry of Transportation, underscores our commitment to enhancing vehicular traffic circulation in and out of the state capital. We call upon motorists and commuters to embrace the vision by strictly adhering to traffic rules and regulations. We implore the business community in this vicinity to take ownership of this project, understanding its pivotal role in shaping the future of transportation in Lagos.
Hi, my name is Nifemi. Welcome to Tax Your Brain on the Tax Talk. We have an interesting question for the residents of Lagos today. Let's set the ball rolling.
Actually, current trends in Nigerian situation, we can say it's higher, but let's say 30,000 is okay.
To my knowledge, I think currently the lowest minimum wage is exempted from tax, the 30,000 minimum wage.
Minimum wage exempted? I didn't know that.
30K per month.
This is our first winner for today. What do you have to say to us, sir?
I appreciate you. I say thank you to LRI and I say thank you to Tastalk.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, no problem.
Thank you for joining us today. We'll be back with another question next time. Stay tuned.
A big thank you for keeping the faith on the show today. Our social media handles are on the screen. Please follow us. My name is Oinola Sale. Join us next time.